Good afternoon. Today, my special guest is David Johanns from Keller Williams Referred Urban Realty in downtown Toronto. How are you doing today, David?
Well, Glenn, I'm doing pretty good. I'm sitting at my piano and playing the piano. I thought that would be a great intro to this podcast.
Well,
There you go.
that's the best. I got to tell you, David, that is the best start of any call I've ever had. I love it.
Because, I've been listening to your podcast, and I thought, well, I can do something no one else can do on the intro.
That's right. I love it. Okay, so David, why don't you tell some of our listeners just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of move on to what the biggest challenges you have in real estate, and then in 25 minutes we will give you a awesome, unique process to follow to get a steady stream of leads, and then basically a blueprint to follow for the next 12 months that you can kind of double your income. So let's go to it.
Well, what I'm looking forward to is at the end of this call, what you basically told me is that all of my problems in real estate are going to be solved. So I'm very excited about that. There's the challenge. Let's see, I've been in the real estate game. I'm fairly new. I think I joined Keller Williams a little over a year ago. And I previously, as you know, I play piano. I wrote music for television for many years. I worked as an entertainer my whole life, pretty much. Done a lot of television shows. My passion is sailing. I live on a boat in the summer. I love working with people, and and I love houses. Own a lot of tools. I can renovate, all of that stuff. And I guess that's what drew me into real estate is, the joy of being around people, entertaining, and because to me it's like when I'm showing a house or engaging people, not much different than working as an entertainer. And I think my background connecting to people as an entertainer, because it's an exchange of energy, benefits me in the world of real estate, or hopefully so I'm finding. Mm-hmm. So that's the quick dog and pony show synopsis.
All right, perfect. So, what do you think? Well, I guess there's two questions for you. If I had a magic wand right now and could create a perfect, ideal, perfect fit client for you, who would that be? Followed by what is that challenge that you're facing right now in the marketplace?
I really like working with. Of course, I like working with clients that are more my generation, so they're, dare I say that word, older, and they, established. I love. I spoke to you about this before. I love contemporary architecture. Clean lines, glass, steel, lots of windows, open spaces, flowing lines. So somebody that is into that, that has that design aesthetic and that appeal to them, and that's what they're in the market for. So it would be, I suppose, someone in that is going to be of a higher end client. It's more expensive properties, dare I say, luxury homes. That's I suppose in a crystal ball kind of situation, that's who I would like to work with. But I don't want, I'm always apprehensive to say that because I've worked with younger people helping, get their first home, and I got a lot of joy out of that help, so I found that very rewarding as well. So I'm nervous, I suppose, because that market that I like is very small and almost exclusive, and it's hard to sometimes get into that demographic. It's I don't know how to do. It's an exclusive world sometimes.
Hmm. Well, I think when we're working on like a niche market, I would say to people, over the next 90 days, this is really 20% of your time. You should still keep running with all the other clients you like to work with. Whether it be first-time buyers or move up or move down. I mean, we've got to live, we've got to eat. And, it's not just one client that always gives us joy, right? A lot of times, there's nothing better than helping a first-time buyer buy their first home, right? Just that I always call it like sell real estate for hugs, right? It's the hug you get after you help them find their first property.
I like that.
And so,
that removes some of my anxiety, I guess, about deciding, who I would really like to work with. But because, like you said, you got to eat. And one of the, in pursuing putting food on the table, that I've been using the model that I really like that Jason Weinberger has promoted with me. There's a name drop for him. Is doing open houses, and I found that has been very effective for me. So I'm making that a bigger objective to every weekend find a place I can host, because the last few times I've done that, I have generated really good leads.
Yeah. Well, I think there's I kind of always think that there's like agents built for open houses in a way. Like there's some agents who just aren't good at all, and there's other agents who, and I know you, like just very personable, open, approachable, and they tend to do really, really well. So I know.
Well,
the other reason
I like doing it is that I get to learn about before I do the open house. I find out about what's selling in the area, because I don't want to come across as an idiot if somebody starts asking me some direct questions about the local market. So it forces me to become more educated. Sometimes in places that I've never been. So to me, that's a bonus.
Yeah. Well, I would strongly suggest, there is a big argument. I want to go back to your main niche in a second, but there's a big argument of it's not one open house each day. You could easily do 3 open houses a day. There's no reason, no rule that says you can't do 11 to 1 on one house, 1 to 3 on another, 3 to 5 on another. I know an agent who is now selling over 500 properties a year, who started 12 years ago, and that's all she did was just 6 open houses every weekend. And I think the other model we have to break is open houses aren't just for weekends. People are busy on weekends. Open houses can easily be right after work from 5 to 8 p.m. if you're on a busy street and you get a lot of high traffic, because that's what clients want, right? But let's go back to your big niche, right? The kind of modern architecture, contemporary, clean lines. That world is really, it's a if people who love food are called foodies, I'm going to call those people homies. Like they're the people who can talk for hours. The people who love those homes and design those homes and build those homes are very committed and passionate to that. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Like one of my best friends is a well-known architect, Adam Tom, and I've known him for almost 20 years. And I think just hanging out with him, like his designs all reflect that, and it's kind of through osmosis, I've really been drawn to that. Like it really, I love the stuff he does. It's integrated with nature. It's leading edge building technology. Everything about it, like the conservation of energy, footprint, environmental footprint, self-sustaining, off the grid, use of energy. All of that stuff to me is really appealing. And also just standing in a space where the light comes pouring in. Just the manner in which the windows are situated, how it conserves energy, keeps the house cool in the summer, warm in the winter. All those things are amazing.
Right. So let's think about your ideal target market buyer for that type of property. Okay? I want you to we're creating almost like a computer avatar right now, the perfect fit, the type of so how old would they be if you had to guess, or let our audience know, what's the target age group?
I think they're pretty much going to be, I would say, over 40. So they've likely already owned a home. It definitely wouldn't be I can't imagine this being a first buy, and they have a distinct taste and objective.
Okay. And where are they living now?
I would say they're very conscious people in terms of culture, aesthetics, and even the environment. Like I find these people tend to, want to spend more money on building material if it leaves a cleaner footprint, and it's going to benefit, the house in the long term in terms of energy conservation and efficiency.
Totally. So where are these people living now? What part of Toronto would you say they're in right now?
I guess that's the good question, because quite frankly, I can't answer that I don't think I can give a very good educated answer with that. I come across these individuals, through some of my social networks or meeting them or when I'm doing a gig somewhere. I meet them by chance. I have some people in my social network that fit this profile, but I can't say for sure that they're all exclusively living in one area. I wouldn't call them the Forest Hill types. They're definitely not the Bridle Path types. That to me is more of a cookie cutter demographic. It's not the same. They're more of a they're outside of the box thinking people.
Yeah. And for those people who aren't from Toronto, the Bridle Path and Forest Hill is a very exclusive upscale luxury market in Toronto. I think the first thing to do would be to try to do some research on where those people are. I'm going to make a guess right now that I think a lot of them are in this area in Midtown Toronto called the Annex, living near University of Toronto. And I'm going to guess that they could be professors, they could be in the liberal arts, they could, they're that artsy, liberal, eco, does that ring a bell? Can you see that type of person?
As soon as you said that, I thought of the house that is based on, it was an $18 million home that sold recently. That's in the shape of a mathematical integral. It was built. It was built by the guy who was a mathematical professor who wrote textbooks. He made his money in textbooks. I can't think of his name, but that's an incredible place.
Right.
That's on the high end, the very, very high end.
I know. Wouldn't it be great if they were all 18 million? But I would argue that there's a lot of that maybe the buyers are sitting there, and I certainly know some of the sellers are sitting there, because if you can drive through some of those areas, you can certainly see the influence and the new construction of those type of homes.
Well, that's what I think. In my neighborhood, that's what I love. Is I see that kind of construction happening in the middle of very conventional neighborhoods. And it stands out like a beacon, because to me, when I look at that, it's like that's what all these houses eventually are going to look like. When people, when this, what is new becomes adopted by society as being typical. I look at every house that we live in, peaked roof, it's a box. To me, it's just a box, and it can be contemporized very quickly. With big windows and totally change it, like do a makeover. And that's what these guys are doing. Like a lot of these designers that have that eye and that affinity, they're doing that to these homes.
Right. And it's really a bigger statement. I'm sure we could talk about this for hours, but we're going to get into the solution in a second. But I think it's a bigger movement towards mass production and more individualism. And I think that's what we're really seeing out there. So what if we were to do this? So someone is thinking about either buying one of those homes or building one of their homes, and they're lying in bed. What are they thinking about? What is their biggest fear? Because if we can plan our marketing from what their biggest concern is, and the way we approach it is based on the 4 or 5 fears or concerns they have, that when we approach them with this, they go, oh my God, that's what I've been thinking about. You get me. So what would that be? What's keeping them awake at night?
I think quality of construction, like fear of who they're going to hire to do this kind of work, and is a big fear. That's what I hear immediately when people talking about build construction. I'm trying to the cost. Obviously, everybody's worried about the cost of doing this kind of project. Is it out of reach? Is it irrational to engage in this kind of thing when nobody else is doing it? How's the market going to react if they want to sell it? Is there going to be a buyer out there for it, assuming they do want to sell it? Is it going to appeal to people to purchase it? I mean, I know of one house a friend of mine, an interior designer, did on Scarborough Road, and it was diabolically different from everything out there. And while everything was selling, within a week, she just sat and waited, and it sold in 18 months, and she got her price, which was significantly higher. She set the new standard in the neighborhood. So I think that's what they're worried about. Like, will I get my money back out of it after I do all of this?
And they'll probably be going to, it's like if I was going to be building a cottage, I might go to the cottage show, or they're going to be in this information gathering stage, right? And who's a good architect, and might go to speakers or get, go to house.com or
Hmm.
Architectural Digest and kind of learn. And I'm wondering if what we could do right now that would almost create like a bit of a bait, like that we could kind of get them to come out of their bedrooms right now and put up their hand and kind of go, you know what, I'm thinking about buying uh like a, a modern contemporary architecture. So what if we were to do, I think there's two things I would probably recommend. One is, could you be the person who does Toronto's first tour of modern homes, where you find your top 5 or 10 favorite homes, knock on the door, drop off a flyer, and say, listen, it's kind of like a garden tour, but
Hmm.
I've always loved your home. I'm working with a bunch of people who are homies. I'd love to do Toronto's first tour of modern homes, and all of the proceeds will go to charity. And then, so what if we got 5 people out of the 10 or 15 homes you approached who said, you know what, I'd love to show off my house,
That's brilliant.
right? And because the people, it's like when you have a nice garden, you want to show it off, right? It's all your hard work. You don't want to keep it in your backyard.
Absolutely.
Some people are private, but other people are like, oh, I'd love my garden tour, you know? So I just think that if we could target, and you could use this as talking to architects that you know, and who would have a great modern home or contemporary architecture that they would be willing to put on tour on one day. It's on one Saturday. We're going to allow 30 people to come on the tour. It's $100 for the tour, $200, whatever you want to charge. After the tour, you have the architects who designed those homes talking and answering questions. You have a cocktail bar. You're playing piano, but I would probably hire somebody at that point because you want to be working that room.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't always like to mix the two together, the
Yeah,
piano and the.
right.
I want to make qualify one thing is when I say, this demographic that I'm talking about, contemporary and modern and everything doesn't always have to be isn't necessarily reserved just for the people with a higher income. I mean, I'm also
Hmm.
love homes that are rethought and redone in laneway houses or something just
Hmm.
something that's unconventional and really works.
Right.
I
But the
like
challenge,
like a piece of
go.
art. Like if it's like, why do you have to live in something that's boring? Why can't you live in art?
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. The challenge here, though, is we have to find those people, and so we have to narrow it down to one type of home at first. Then we can go deeper with this, right? I mean, you think of where this could go. Couldn't every month you could rotate this tour in different areas of the city? Could you not duplicate this and have Buffalo's tour of modern homes, New York? I mean, you could expand this around the world if you really wanted to.
We can
The whole
syndicate it. That's
idea,
what we're talking about. A new television show. Now we've got a production
there you
company.
go.
I like where this is going.
See? So the whole thing is you got to find, the right, where are the people, and then what kind of marketing can we do to them to get them to put up their hand and go, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And I think the best way for you to do that would be to organize Toronto's first tour. And let's say you did it in April or May when it was, beautiful weather, whatever it was. You could get media, you could do all different types of things, or you could just do a very quiet tour the first time. Because what you really
See how
want,
it
what I'm
works.
sensing here, David, is that you want to build a tribe of people who believe in the same things you believe in and just as passionate about art as you are because they're your type of people. And that's exactly what agents are supposed to do. They bring their natural strengths and interests to a target market of people who they love and want to hang around with. And then they build a tribe of raving fans. And that's just how the process works.
That last statement very much resonates with the podcast I heard you talking about with this gentleman. Was it Dan or somebody? Mindset. You guys covered a lot of stuff about mindset.
Oh, yeah. My coach, Dan Sullivan. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that really hit me hard because I thought, okay, that's who I got to work with. I gotta find people of my mindset because I lost a couple of listings and I was, to say the least, beyond the pale of angry. But then after listening to that podcast, I thought, well, I should be grateful that I lost them because they are nothing like me.
Right.
like zero mindset. We had nothing in common.
That's right.
So
And the beautiful thing is, once you get into the group of like mindsets who are just like you, they refer people just like you to you. And then what happens is your business becomes happy, faster, easier, simpler, more lucrative because you get to work with, it's like you're just hanging out with all your best friends now.
and that's what
And
inspired me to go into this. So I don't want, I've been, swimming in this big ocean of real estate, being new to the game, and going off in all directions and drinking from a fire hose like everybody else. And so now I'm getting more. I'm calming down and saying, okay, that's the direction that I've done things that I don't like, and like, okay, now I'm miserable, so we're not going to do that anymore. So I'm, slowly picking off the pieces, and I guess finding the direction that I should be going in.
that's right. Well, it's kind of like a buffet, right? After you eat all the food once, you're kind of like, okay, what do I really like here, right?
Yeah.
And I think if that's what you're going to do, and it's part of the foundation of people learning this business. I mean, it's so crazy that this business looks so easy from the outside, but it's so difficult for so many on the inside. And so this is why I think this method of just bringing you to your target market is so appealing. So let's fast forward it a little bit, okay? Let's say you have your first tour in April or in May, whenever you want it. It doesn't. You could do it in March. It doesn't matter. It just requires some organization. Could you talk to some of the key architects, or drive by and do all the research of just find homes, and they usually have their architect sign out in front, invite them to either come on the tour or to speak after the tour. And now what you're doing is, to the architects, you're positioning them as the specialist in the area that they only deal in. So now if a client approaches them and says, hey, we'd love to build this, they would say, hey, David, can you go and find the house so that we can make this creation? Or they're like, well, we want to sell this and we want to move to somewhere else. They're like, well, David specializes in only this. Now you start creating this allied referral resource team where you're sending business to architects, they're sending it back. Not only the architects, you also have your designers, don't you?
That's brilliant. I love it. And the reason I love it is that I'm excited listening to you talk about this, and the fact that I'm getting excited, that means I'll be motivated to do it, because you're not talking about cold calling, which,
That's right.
respectful.
Well, what you learn is when you stay in your unique ability doing what you love to do, there's never any need to get motivated. It's like, it's only when you're doing stuff that you don't like that you procrastinate, right? So.
Yeah, I put myself through the cold calling misery program.
That's right. You don't do that. It's kind of crazy. It's so old school, and I don't even know why they keep teaching it. But so here's the thing: could we now, as our action steps, because we only got a couple of minutes left, to wrap this up, could you not? First of all, I would print off every modern home that's sold in whatever area you want to focus in right now. Could be even in complementary areas, and get your car and drive by them so that you have more confidence in understanding what the market and the market price is for those homes. Then I would probably, every time you see a new home that you would love to work with sell, you have to go and inspect it and see it at the agent's open house, or get out and see it before the consumer does.
Okay.
I would create a Facebook page called, Toronto's Tour of Contemporary Architecture or Modern Home, whatever. You have to. Sorry.
Home for homies.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever you want to call it. But the thing is once you go to a business page, excuse me, at Facebook, once you go to a business page, you can target only, like, you can boost that page very inexpensively and target it just to architects in Toronto. You could target it just to people who like this magazine in Toronto, in this postal code only, in this age group only. So now what you're really doing is you're basically taking content, putting it into your page, broadcasting it out, and all they're going to be seeing from you is, boy, this guy just keeps posting on, here's David's pick of the week. This contemporary home is like, and you walk through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can post that on your Facebook page. You can This weekend, if you want, we're going to be doing this. And so now we start working the back end. So general contractors, designers, architects, buyers and sellers, building a tribe and a group meeting around that. You're building an end of here's the product, and I'm looking for more people who want to buy it. In the meantime, you're actually going directly to the people who already have those homes and asking them if you can put them on the tour. And because here's the other great secret is when it comes time to sell and they see how passionate you are about their property, you are the one they're going to pick.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
This is a really beautiful model you've explained.
Yeah. Isn't it fun?
It's awesome. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. Like I'm very excited about the prospect of doing that.
Good. Well, we're at minute 26, David. I mean, I gotta wrap it up.
I got to bookend with a musical goodbye, you know.
Okay, let's hear it.
Me direction. I was a lost real estate agent in the pool of only 40,000 pages. Don't forget, you're in good hands with Johanns.
I love it, David. You're the best, okay? I'll say goodbye for now for our listeners, but just stay on the line for a second, David, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.